Today's neoliberal in question is the United States Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona. Check out this tweet from the secretary. Every student should have access to an education that aligns with industry demands. And I just cannot believe he evolves to meet the demands of tomorrow's global workforce. In other words, have your kids do what the business industry wants. Nothing that they love, nothing that edifies and lifts. It is only what the corporatists want. That's pretty much what the Secretary of Education is saying. And this is a big no, Mr. Secretary. And foremost, every student should have access to education and the type of access to education that aligns with their learning and their growth and things that edify them, not just corporations. Every student should have that. And so the nerve of the education secretary to put out such a tweet, I had to take a double read because I did not believe that that was coming from the Secretary of Education. It definitely reeks of corporatism. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. And while the Congress was happily passing a record $858 billion defense budget, why couldn't they have brought that same energy, that same fire, that same commitment, that same love to increase federal funding for education? That's what the education secretary, that's what he needs to be about. Not trying to get children to focus on what corporations want. So the fiscal year of 2023 budget released in March will provide $88.3 billion for the US Department of Education, including $36.5 billion for Title I schools, which support students from low-income communities. It also seeks $16.3 billion for students with disabilities. The spending plan devotes $1 billion to provide more school-based mental health professionals, including school counselors, nurses, school psychologists, and social workers. $36.5 billion for Title I, $88.3 billion overall, compared to a $358 billion military budget. Jessica, it's hard for me to keep my cool.
Yeah, it's really annoying when someone who's spent their life and their career in the education field still sees this kind of spending for education as a one-time expense with no return. Spending on education is an investment, and it's a smart economic investment when you're training a workforce to do things that they want to do, that they're good at doing, not just things that you can learn in regular public schools, but also when you go on to higher education and have publicly funded colleges and universities, but also trade schools if there's something kids want to do there. It's not about training someone up to be useful to the current bosses and the corporate workforce in the United States. It's, hey, what do we need to get done as a humanity, as a society? And when you invest in training people up to go on to do certain things, you're investing in the productive capacity of your economy, and eventually you'll be able to create and produce more. It's not like it's this expense. And it's the kind of spending that will lead to things like inflation if you say we forgive student loan debt or make college free. That's not how that works. When you're increasing the productive capacity of the economy, it's always a worthwhile investment. Not to mention, this guy is the guy that has the power to forgive student loan debt. And we shouldn't really say forgive, we should say cancel, because really the people that are getting forgiven are the banks for screwing over all of the students in the schools with these predatory loans.
Yeah, isn't that the case? And there is a memo that the Biden administration slow rolled because they didn't want us to know the answer to what you just pointed out, which is this president, along with this secretary, can cancel all student debt in the United States of America. It is within their power because 1965 Education Act gives them that power to do that. Now, the budget proposal came less than a month, and I'm talking about the education budget, after Congress approved a spending plan that provided $42.6 billion for K-12 schools for the remainder of the fiscal year, an increase of $2 billion from the past year, with extra funding for schools serving students living in poverty. But again, all of that is a drop in the bucket when you compare that spending to what is being spent on the Pentagon budget. Let's not ever lose sight of that. Congress gave Biden $45 billion more than what he had asked for in that defense budget. And instead of viewing students as an asset for corporations to exploit, you should invest in them and invest in their future, because investing in them is also investing in the future of the United States of America. Collectively, we all rise when our children are edified and educated and lifted. This is not just one individual, one community. It is each and every one of us. But they're even willing to run the risk of children going hungry at school. Put this headline up: schools will stop serving free lunch to all students. A pandemic solution left out of a new federal spending package. So you want to talk about cruel and you want to talk about immoral. This is immoral as hell and heaven, both. It really is. And I do not understand for the life of me how these people sleep at night. This education secretary, again, just as the Congress members who believe that every student should have a good meal in school, they should be running and jumping and screaming in the streets. But oh no, this man is saying, oh, let's groom these children to be an asset for corporations. But back to Cardona's tweet and what he said. Check this out really quickly. Naked capitalism / our schools, how corporations use public school workforce pipelines to harvest student data and train narrowly skilled, exploitable staff. That is what they're doing. So businesses are naturally attracted to public education because students are a source to meet their future labor demands. And schools can be places to inculcate students and families to become loyal customers. And we're not saying you shouldn't do anything. If we need more doctors and nurses, which we do. We have a nurse shortage in this country, for example. That doesn't mean that you don't talk to students about what the possibilities are in their lives to go into the medical profession. But what this does mean is that you don't simply look at children as widgets to fill some need of corporate America. You look at it in a very holistic way. We are failing, we are failing, we are failing. Mr. Secretary, you need to go back to the classroom, baby, because you didn't get this lesson right. Delete that tweet and put out another tweet about lifting and edifying the children of this nation and doing what is in their best interest. Baby, you got to go back to school. You get a big fat F on that tweet, a F plus.